I'm absolutely a positive influence, and that's the problem. The key word there is influence. The reason the Matrix has attacked me is because of that. It's because I am an influence.
Yeah.
And when
they don't like influence.
They don't like influence because I've not sold my soul. They don't control me. And normally when you become massively influential, they control you. You either sign a contract, or you're a sponsor, or you're a manager,
a record label,
whatever. They have some kind of leverage over you to make sure you only say what you are supposed to say. I'm an individual which they do not control. I have mass influence over the population of Earth.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody like me who is principled, who has morals, who believes in God, who will not sell their soul, will not promote degeneracy, who also has mass influence, they see me as a threat because they say there are certain agendas which he will not promote because of his morality.
Right.
And we need immoral people who have sold their souls absolutely and completely, so they'll enforce the slave programming amongst the population. So they see me as a threat because of my mass influence. And me being positive in and of itself is also a threat to the establishment, because they don't want people to be happy. They want you to be semi-depressed and sad and miserable, because when you're sad, you're self-obsessed.
And you're distracted.
You're distracted and you're self-obsessed. When you're sad, you're sitting at home, me, 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 me. It makes you very selfish. You don't care about your community when you're sad. You don't care about your country when you're sad. You don't care about the injustices of the world when you're sad. You don't care about trying to actually go and make the world a better place because you're too busy thinking about yourself. So they want you miserable, semi-depressed, sad, unhappy, so that you can sit at home and accept them doing whatever they want to the planet and other people without ever talking or standing up or doing the right thing. If you're happy and motivated, you're going to be far more likely to fight against injustices. So the fact that I have mass influence and I can just make people feel better is a threat to them. They don't want me to make people feel better. They talk about men's mental health and pretend to care, but when I come along and genuinely help and stop people from committing suicide, they delete me. They don't want that. They want everybody semi-depressed. They want you miserable. They want you distracted so that you're too busy crying your eyes out in a room somewhere, or sitting in deep thought, worrying about this girl who left you, so they can just continue to run the world. Which is what's happening right now. We're currently in a fight of good versus evil. It's genuinely that serious. This is whether it's the Bible or the Quran or any superhero movie, this is the battle of good versus evil. And anybody who's sitting who doesn't see that, who doesn't see that every armed conflict on the planet, the conflict for our minds, the way the Matrix is attempting to control us, this is genuinely a battle of God versus Satan. And if you think that you can just sit idly by while these two titans go to war and you're not going to end up caught up in the crossfire, then you're absolutely and utterly ignorant at best, a coward at worst, and I think it's most likely cowardice. We're in the middle of the greatest battle that humankind's ever faced, and unless people stand up and actually try and fight hard for good and for God, then we're going to end up in absolute tyrannical slavery. I don't read books. I'm actually famous for saying I've read one book in my life. In my adult life, I've read one book, and I was in a jail cell, so I had nothing else to do. So I don't read books.
Which book was it?
It was an awful book. I think it was called, I can't remember the name of it. I've told this story before and someone found it in the comments, but it was a terrible story about a UN negotiator, a woman who was in New York, and she'd been fired from the UN because she made this big mistake. And then the UN needed her back because she was the best negotiator. And they got her back, and they kept talking about, I wish I didn't make the big mistake. And for 2/3 of the book, it's like she's so good at her job, but what was this big mistake? And it turns out she was negotiating between two African warlord tribes, and she ended up sleeping with one of the warlords. And when you get this big revelation, you're like, oh, so you're just the warlord in the middle of a negotiation? Like, how did that even happen? What
you were so interested, and then you just realized,
like, how charming was this guy? He's a mass murderer. Like, the whole book, it upset me. So no, I don't read books because books are slow, and I think the world we now live in today is about speed. Speed is absolutely and utterly important. Everything must be
like this.
Absolutely, and everything must be done as quickly as possible. And Darwin said it, even though I'm not a proponent of evolution. He said it's the most adaptable member of the species that survives. I will change it and say nowadays the quickest member of the species survived. It's not about being the biggest or the strongest, it's about being the quickest, the most adaptable to change. And to read a book is just too many human hours for the amount of information and knowledge you get. So I don't read books. I think they're slow. I think they're a waste of time. I think a lot of it's mental masturbation for people to sit there and say, I want to get smarter, so I read books. And I talk to these people, they're not even smart. I know everything about everything because of my life. It's been varied and it's been very difficult. And I'm perspicacious and I pay attention and I learn my lessons. And that's how I know everything about everything. I don't need to read books. There's not a subject you can name right now where I don't know something about.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, you name it. Korean War, anything. You name it, I know something about something. That's just what happens when you get to a certain level of intelligence, because you can apply scenarios and
Patterns. It's all patterns.
It's all patterns, absolutely. And history may not repeat, but it certainly rhymes. And humanity all acts in a pretty similar way across all cultures. And once you get an X amount of knowledge in one place, you can basically apply it and extrapolate it out to anything.
Anything, yeah. No, and you're right about the reading books thing. A lot of people, there's like this new, like basically they become like self-help junkies, where they're just trying to seek self-help books, and they think to themselves like, I'm doing something productive because I'm reading a book. But actually, you have so much work that you could actually do to actually like implement what the book says. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is with reading a book is it's a reward without any risk. And this is why I think a lot of people are proponents of reading, and they say reading, because nothing can really go wrong besides wasting your time in life, of course, but they don't believe that. I am a much larger proponent of larger risks and larger rewards. If you want to learn about self-help, if you want to understand yourself and see what kind of man you really are, and learn how to fight through adversity, and learn how to get up when life's difficult, and learn how to control your mind, and learn how to struggle, then you can go to the boxing gym and you can get your ass kicked. You do not need to read any books. You need to get in the gym, walk in there and say, I'm going to fight the best fighter here every single day, and not quit until you can eventually beat him. But most people are not man enough for that. So instead they'll read a self-help book and they'll sit there and try and talk to me about mindset. I learned my mindset in battle. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learning the reality of the real world. I don't need to read a self-help book. I don't need to read about motivation or confidence. I've been in the cage smashing people's faces in. I don't need to learn any of that stuff. So I learn in reality, and reality is always going to be a better teacher than a book, because you're not learning when you read books. You're regurgitating. You may be reading, but I don't believe you're truly learning. My coach used to say, if it doesn't hurt, you didn't learn. And I think he's completely right. And it's the same with entire life. You see people make the same mistake over and over again until it eventually goes really wrong. And it's only then they'll change.
Then they change.
So absolutely. So I learned how to become self-disciplined and become self-motivated and work hard, and I learned how to face adversity and find strength within myself I didn't know I had, because people were trying to kill me inside of a cage, and you cannot replicate that by reading pages of a book. No. So it's a waste of time. Absolutely. And so I'll actually say here right now, I'm a massive anti-reader. I think it's a mistake. I think as a young man, if you want to get your life better, the most important thing you have are your waking hours. You need to be out competing all the other people on the planet who are hyper competitive. And if you think you have 8 hours to sit there and just read a book, you are wasting your time. You are too slow, and you are going to lose against people like me, because we're just too quick, too fast. Our networks are too various and large, and we make decisions too quickly, and we absorb information too quickly, and you're just behind the times.
By the time
I've lived this entire existence as a professional fighter, this entire existence as a webcam owner, this entire existence broke, this entire existence rich. I feel like I've been alive many times, if that makes sense. So it's even difficult for me to surmise my life. It's been so varied. But it goes all the way from down to the very base level, all the way up to the top. But the fact you can just walk around safely, that removes 80% of the world's cities nowadays.
And if you can have everything in another country, you're rich, you have everything, but you can't even use what's the point of being rich there?
Completely. And if you don't even have your safety, what do you have, right? So there's only a few cities left on earth you can even, like, this is just a Chiron watch. I only wear this in Dubai. I wear it in Bucharest, but that's because I have Bucharest locked down head to toe. Most people don't.
It's your place.
It's my place, Tokyo. Maybe some cities in Australia, which were kind of okay, but they're getting a bit worse. That's it. Like that's it. You can't wear it in Western Europe. You can't wear it in America. You can't wear it in South America. You can't wear it in Africa. You can't wear a nice watch that you've earned. Honestly, it's absolutely not really incredible.
And you know, they say like it's because Dubai has or like UAE has all these resources, but every country has resources. But the problem is too much corruption there. For the rulers don't invest what they have in the country, in the infrastructure and stuff.
The people will always make excuses, but you're completely right. There's a whole bunch of African nations with mass resource.
Maybe.
And there's a whole bunch of Western nations with a bunch of resource. But I think it comes down to the leadership and the vision of the leadership and the fact they truly care.
Exactly.
And that's different. And that's an argument that can be long and very, very detailed and interesting about the differences between a democracy and perhaps the ruling system here. Because a democracy, a lot of people get in, they have 3-4 years in power. There's a huge much of bureaucracy.
They just want to extract as much money as they can before they
then
go.
Bounce, right?
The changes they make now, they'll see results in 10 years when they'll be gone.
They'll be gone, so they don't care.
They don't care.
And also, there's a whole bunch of bureaucracy behind them, which makes it very slow to change. It's very hard. Like, I don't understand completely how UAE is run, but I'd like to think that if the Sheikh were to walk down the road and say, change this, it would be changed the same day. Whereas in England or America, change this. Committee decides to change, the law goes to Congress, the vote. Then, it costs $4 billion, and then next year maybe some guy will start to come. It's just slow.
And the construction company will keep 3 billion, they'll use 1 billion.
And it's very slow. And what did we say earlier about the key? We said speed. We said that it's the fastest people who adopt the quickest change who are going to survive. And if that's going to be true, then I guess you can extrapolate it out and also apply it to a city or a country or a civilization. And the fact that Dubai is so adaptable and can adapt in real time means that it's basically the only city on the planet where no matter what happens in the world, they're always going to be the best possible position. I don't think that Dubai has any competition. I think it's seriously, genuinely the best city on earth. We're here to struggle and to learn. I don't think we're here to be happy. That's why when we keep going back to the happy argument, I've always found that kind of frustrating and annoying. When someone goes, "Oh, but I want to be happy." Why? Why? Why do you want to sit there and laugh like you were happy your entire childhood? That's your happy days. You're allowed to be happy as a kid. It's all over now, right? You're a man. You have responsibilities. I think we're here to do important. Provide, protect, and we're also here to do important things. And important things are going to be difficult, and they're going to be hard, and you're going to get frustrated. But that's what gives you purpose. I don't see anyone who's chasing happiness. I think that's a very feminine frame. I understand why some women just want to be happy. I don't know how it feels to be a girl because I'm not one. But in my experience, I know women who just want to be happy. Yeah. Girls just want to have fun. Fine. But you're a man, right? And if you're a man, then it's absolutely an utterly different experience of life. I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to endure pain. I think we're here to just see how hard we are to kill. I think that going through terrible things and living through them and coming out the other side is one of the most fantastic things about being human. I think that it's almost like once you understand what life is really about, there's no emotion which isn't enjoyable. The only emotional state which can be seen as detrimental is feeling nothing at all. But if you're sitting at home and you're feeling truly heartbroken, at least you're feeling something, right? And I think that's the whole part of being human. I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to go through pain. That's so I wake up each day and go, what can I attack? What problem can I solve? And look at history. Why did Genghis Khan wake up and want to conquer the whole world? Why did Napoleon conquer the world? Why did Alexander the Great conquer the world? Just wake up and just say, give me this, give me that. I want all of it. I need to. There's an army there. They're really big. We're better. It's intrinsic. You need to go and conquer. That's the purpose of life.
Create us to struggle. Like what is it? What is it?
Because if you don't struggle, you don't learn.
Yeah.
God created us to learn and understand ourselves and understand other people and understand the world. And what did I say earlier? I said that you don't learn a lesson or you don't appreciate something
without pain.
Without pain. So you have to struggle to learn anything. There's only two ways to learn things, the hard way or the harder way. If you're smart, you can learn the hard way. But in my experience, 99% of the planet only learn the hardest possible way. If the lesson's even 85% effective, they'll make the same mistake. It's only when they completely decimate and destroy an element of their life do they sit there and go, oops, now I get it.
No.
That's how the Matrix attacked me.
Yeah.
They tried to remove me from social media.
They've used their bullets.
They used their bullets. I'm still all over social media, so they failed.
They failed.
What's scary about it, the only thing I will say I don't like about being banned is that you get 3 lives when you attack powerful people. They first ban you and try and shut you up. Secondly, they'll put you in jail for something you didn't do. And thirdly, they'll kill you. So I've used my first life, which is kind of upsetting. When you know that next is going to be some false charges.
The 2 worst ones.
And if you survive the false charges, you just die.
Jesus.
So that's kind of upsetting. But
that's kind of upsetting.
It is. I like to, it's kind of upsetting. I like to think that people at home know if I ever ended up in a jail cell and the media started printing why, that they know it's a pure lie and that they made it up.
Yeah.
But that's kind of scary. Outside of that, the ban in and of itself has not. I don't care, bro. It's made no difference to my life. The only thing Instagram was good for was a bunch of chicks, and that's all. That's the only thing I used it for.
And you have them.
I do okay. I don't need it, so I don't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I do think the social media companies have made a mistake. I think they're now realizing they've made a mistake.
Are they contacting you?
I can't say what's happening, but I do believe I will be reinstated. However, it's truly not that important at this time. If I had to martyr my social media accounts to show the world that everything I was saying was true about the Matrix, then it was worth it, right? All they did was prove me completely and utterly right. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and they proved me completely and utterly right, and it backfired. They tried to put a media spin on the event and convince the world that I'm a bad person, and that has failed. Nobody believes I'm a bad person. 99% of the comments on any of my videos are positive. I'm speaking to people who are now waking up and understanding that the media machine lies. And the only people who truly dislike me are the slave minds. If I ever hear about somebody disliking me, when you ask them why, they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. What's scary to me is that there's people out there that have a strong emotional reaction to scenarios, people, or events, and they don't even know why.
They just read a headline.
But that's the true slave mind. When someone can say a name to you and you're furious and you go, why are you angry? I don't know. Like that shows how programmed you are.
They can control his emotions like this.
They can control you.
Yeah.
So anybody who's critically thinking, anybody with a brain.
It's a problem.
Yeah. So anybody with a brain who could think for themselves likes me, and anybody who hates me is barely sentient. So it's kind of good where now I have a very strong filter. Like, I don't like you. I know you're an idiot. That's fine. Instantly, I know you're an idiot. Oh, bro, I love your work. A person who thinks. So it's kind of convenient. It's kind of convenient to instantly filter, my life. But I must have been approached by 100,000 people as I walked the street, and I've never had anybody say anything negative to me on the street ever. Male, female, old, young, never. Everybody, including women, love me. They all say you're saying the truth. You're doing such important work. I've never had anything. It's done on purpose.
Yeah.
The mentors, the idols, the icons that they purport to the youth via the Matrix are degenerate because they want a degenerate class of semi-miserable, sad people.
Yeah.
You're never going to be truly happy in your mind if you go against the teachings of God. I don't care how much money you make. If you're a bad person, you're not going to feel happy. I don't care how much money you make. If you snake people or lie to people or do bad to people, you're never going to feel happy true deep in your heart. True in your heart, we're intrinsically designed to do right and do good. And that's something that God gave us. And when you have that, you understand that that's more important than anything else. So these people who are up here promoting degeneracy, saying, take Percocets and bang girls and drink vodka and you're going to be, going to be great. I drink. I'm not saying I don't drink, but that's not my message, right? Yeah. And those people are never truly happy, and they're trying to purport that and convince people to do the same, so that the whole populace is never truly happy. And like I said, now we go in circles. We've already discussed why they don't want us to be happy.
Exactly,
so that's why.
Do you think that drinking is like an escape of sorts, or?
I love alcohol, right? I drink, right? So I'm a drinker, but it's not my message. I don't sit here on a podcast and say, everyone drink. But rappers' message is degeneracy.
Drink, crime, rob this guy.
Completely. And
kill that guy.
Completely. And I'm saying that if you live that way, you're never going to be truly happy in your heart. If you want to feel happy inside of yourself, and you want to feel content, and you want to feel stable inside of yourself, you need to live true to God. And I'm not saying you can't drink a little bit of alcohol or not party or not have a little bit of fun. You have to be a good person.
You have to balance life.
You have to balance life. You have to be a good person overall. I know I'm a good person. And when the Matrix is trying to convince the world that I'm not, that just proves even further that I'm a good person. The world we now live in today, when the mass media machine is trying to tell you somebody is evil, you can know pretty well that person's probably good. Yeah. And vice versa. Like, there's a reason they are trying so hard to convince people to ignore their own ears. People listen to my message and go, that's a positive message. And the media machine's going, no, it's not positive. He's bad. They're trying to brainwash you. I don't believe in the societal paradigms in which they have tried to construct this idea of happiness. I don't believe or subscribe to the way that happy and sad is currently understood by the masses of the population. I think if you are anything less than absolutely distraught, you are happy. You're a version of happy. It's like saying gray is a version of black, right? No matter how light the gray is, you can still call it a version of black. And unless you've gone through an event, which hopefully doesn't happen too often, like the passing of a family member or something that's truly destructive and detrimental to your mindset, besides these events, which hopefully only happen a few times in your life, you should be happy. If you're not crying or paralyzed in silence due to the absolute magnitude of a detrimental circumstance or the absolute magnitude of a negative event, then you are a version of happy. So I am always happy is the short answer. I don't believe in not being happy. I don't believe in not saying to myself I'm happy. I'm always a version of happy. And this idea of chasing happiness and always being concerned and preoccupied with how happy you are is actually the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, I think, in the world today. Especially men who wake up and go, oh, I don't really feel happy, so I need to get happier. And that's how they end up down a hedonistic path of drugs or alcohol or gambling, chasing pleasure. I don't care how I feel. Yeah. I don't care if I feel happy or sad. It doesn't really affect what I do each day. I do the exact same things. I act the exact same way. I don't care. I don't put weight to the significance of the emotion. So I always consider myself a happy person, but if I woke up and I was slightly less happy one day than another, it wouldn't affect anything I do, and I wouldn't put any relevance to it. I'm human, and that's life. And so am I any happier now that I have hundreds of millions of dollars than before I was broke?
Yeah.
Not really, but I was never unhappy. I'm the same state that I was then that I am now. I have work to do, and I will do it. It's as simple as that. Well, also, there's no light without dark, and there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain.
Okay.
And no matter how hard you chase pleasure and happiness, there's going to be dips and troughs in between. There's going to be come downs and downtrends, and you're going to have the juxtaposition between that time you were laughing your head off and acting giddish like a child, and the time that you feel depressed as such. And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. I'm always the same base level of happy regardless. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy. Mm-hmm. If my net worth quadrupled, I'd be the same happiness.
Yeah.
As long as I am alive, which is a struggle, unfortunately, in the current climate, but as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, as long as I get to wake up and know that there's a whole bunch of people in the world who need me, and I get to work hard to please them and do good for society and good for the world, then I'm a vessel of God, and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider how do I feel. That doesn't cross my mind. I have things to do. I have things to do.
You're too busy to think about that.
I'm too busy. I have things to do every single day. I have very important things to do, and how I feel really is not going to affect how I complete those tasks.
Right.
And when I speak to men, they say I'm unhappy or I need to be happier. I think that's absolutely the wrong frame of life. You're a man. You have duty. You have honor. You have things you should be doing regardless of how you feel. And the people who are perma-obsessed with happiness or sadness, I just think it's the wrong paradigm to view the lens of life. I think you should get up and do what needs to be done.